Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the classroom. Little Monday, well, Tuesday morning or Monday evening, depending on which side of the world you're on. Got a little coffee here to try and wake up. Alrighty. So if you are tuning in over on YouTube and you're new here, you're welcome to come along and draw or paint with us. We're going to be doing landscapes. Doing some rocky landscapes, which we've got over here. A bunch of reference all set up on this canvas. If you want to join us, you can check the stream description below. Everything is there. If you're on Twitch and you want to join in, just let me know because I'll have to send you the links manually up in the chat. Who we got, Joe? Hey, Pudgy. We've also had Andy in here so far, doing a quick little sketch before the stream. We've got Eagle Bro here as well, and Hadley. Hello, hello. Now, before we jump in, normally what I do is when it comes to reference for these sessions, and in general when I'm doing my own personal paintings as well, is I tend to just create a, oops, that's the wrong thing. I tend to just create a dark sort of background here and then paste my images on top over here. But Magma recently released their reference window, which if you haven't seen yet, you can find in your view menu, go to reference image, and then show reference window. So for, hey, Keisha, for all members, this is the image that pops up. If you're a free user, you'll just get a demo version and you'll only have this image, which you can use to practice and play around with in your own studies. But if you're a Blaze user, you can change this image with the replace action here. So now what we're going to do is I've enabled Blaze for our Magma Classroom users for the next 2 hours. So you'll be able to use this function to your liking. And so what we can do, because I've got all this reference on a separate canvas, instead of pasting this onto my own canvas and taking up space, we can instead use the canvas as our reference, which is pretty neat. Let's just do that quick. So you go to, let me just explain what I'm doing here. So you go to replace, so add existing image, and then you can paste the link for your reference canvas up here. And then you can sort of zoom in, find everything around here, really nice. Just sort of floats above your canvas. Oh, there's a little bug. Is it? No, it's just the side of my hand deactivating things. Cool. So we're going to be using these. You're welcome to do the same thing if you want to. Just copy and paste the link for the reference canvas, and then just paste it into your reference window through the replace section. I'm going to put some music on while I explain all of this. Let's do this. So just a couple of other things. In case you haven't watched the guide or read the guide and watched the video on it, of course we have basic like zooming controls, which you can do with your fingers as well. If you're on a touchscreen device, you can fit your reference back to the size of your window. You can switch it to grayscale, which I love. Demanded this as part of the reference window. So if you just want to work in grayscale, focus on your values, you can do that quite easily with this. And you can also flip your image horizontally. Always good to do that with your own canvas, just to refresh your eyes. And if you want your reference to move with that, then at least you have the option to flip that. Hadley, you should be able to find it if you go to your view menu. The view menu at the top, then reference window, and show reference window. Then you should be able to if you can't see it yet, just refresh your page, because I activated this while some of you were already here. It might not have updated yet, so you'll just have to refresh. Control F5. All right, so if you're not particularly good at painting landscapes, no problem. Hadley, I am going to ask that you just grab one of your own canvases if you do decide to start painting. But otherwise, you're welcome to watch on screen. So normally with these things, we've been doing like full-on photo studies, just trying to replicate the photo a lot of the time. Some people will push a little further, mix up a bit of the reference, awesome. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. I just want to use these as inspiration to paint some rocks, really. There was a little rock study session on the weekend, which I unfortunately missed. So, oops, I'm going to decided we could do a bit of that this time around in case you missed it as well. And as always, I like to look for interesting shapes of things, right? We're doing rocks. You can keep it pretty simple. Let me clear this off. Don't need that anymore. Cool. We're looking at very like bold, strong shapes, 3D forms. And this is a nice morning exercise, I find. Yeah, Andy, I took a little while to set things up late last night. And initially I wasn't sure if I was going to have a session today because I was just trying to figure out my flight schedule. But things worked out where I could host a session today and get back to our usual time slots. So this is a cool thing to do, I find, first thing in the morning, just playing around with shapes, especially if not even going into trying to create a full-on 3D form. You could just focus on interesting silhouettes. So if I were to turn this to grayscale, maybe makes it a bit easier. Let's leave my brush like sort of full opacity. Let it get a little bit bigger. If I look at this rock here, I just keep, that's got quite an interesting, almost camel-like shape to it. Let's see, there's too much angle jitter there, a little too much spacing because I accidentally tapped on it to increase it. There we go. So you could go about this in two ways. Now what I'm doing is just creating a silhouette. That means pretty much the outline filled in. I'm not worried about all the form. I'm not trying to make it look 3D. I just want to understand the overall shape. If I squint my eyes and I forget about all the detail, what kind of shape does this make? Does it stand out from the background? Because if you have just a normal rock on the ground, it's like it's more of a pebble. That's not very interesting, right? It's a rock formation. But this starts to get pretty cool. So this is where silhouettes come in. And anything, whether it's designing characters, buildings, environments, weapons, all of that, silhouette is an important thing to consider. So okay, that's a fun shape. Now I'm just warming up, right? I'm not trying to do like exact replicas. This is a very triangular kind of thing. So we could start off by making it quite a triangle. But we see here it bumps out. Tapping things around. It bumps out a bit. So we can just add in a little bump there. But it does, it comes up pretty sharp on one side and it comes across like a bit of a sail. It comes down. So that's pretty cool. So you could use a brush to do this, or what's even quicker, and in my opinion a bit more fun, is to take your lasso fill and do the same thing. So this is quite an interesting shape, and even more interesting because it's a rock formation that gets lived in. So it has a kind of overall shape, almost like a sail, but it's also got bits coming out. So I'm just trying to get some of those bits in. And if you do want to go a step further without changing the exercise too much, is you can add in a little bit of a different value to create a little bit of form, but just a subtle little thing, just a sort of shadow and light area. Not trying to define too much. Do the same here. It's got this kind of snow on it. So this is just to get your eyes warmed up. Think about more graphic options, graphic shapes. See what comes down. All right, I need something lighter to go in there. Stand out against the background. So yeah, you can use either one of these tools. Can be really helpful, very quick to go about this way. And then once you've looked at a few, zoom out a little bit, see what else we got. Once you've looked at a few, like, this is pretty cool as well. You can start playing around with your own kind of shapes. First thing in the morning, you might gravitate towards very obvious shapes. If you're doing any kind of exercise, if you're going to draw 100 spoons, your first few are going to be pretty obvious in shape, pretty boring possibly. But then you've got to start digging deeper to make it more interesting. Got a bit of opacity here, that's unintended. Mountain wearing rocks. I mean, wearing pants. So I'm really just playing around now, just trying to see what's all here, what can I play with in my own thing a little bit later. So let's go bushes. Let's sit in front of it. What else we got? What else we got? Oh, this is a really straightforward. Wouldn't quite say pyramid, tetrahedron perhaps, maybe. How many? Can't really see the other side of it, so we don't know how many sides it actually has. But with this one, if we just fill in the entire silhouette, maybe it's not all that interesting on its own. If it's within an environment that changes things a bit. Maybe just to prove it, I'll add a bit of light. So I know what's going on. Helps us define that edge. Okay. So you can approach like these images any way you want, really. If you want to do sort of copy of the environment, go for it. But if you want to play around with some different shapes, then I encourage that as well. One of the things we've got to keep. This is a cool one. If we just look at the silhouette of this, it's be more of an, well, let's change that to a dark color rather, more of an upside down triangle. With a bit of a curve to it. Here. It could be a weird mushroom too. Interesting kind of shape. I'm gonna go further, add some shadow to things. Okay, kind of fun. More over here. I'm going to switch back to color. And let's see, maybe I want to blend some of these things together. So I'm going to shift this down, make it all smaller, fun little warm up. Okay, if you're just starting out for the day with some painting, it's good to just play around like this. Just get loose, start getting your eyes focused into things, and just kind of warm up. So I really like. Where is it now? Zoom out a bit. I really like this because of the orange. Yeah, I saw that, Andy. Nice one. The orange and the white, the changing colors here are really quite cool. So I want to see about adding this in, perhaps to a bit of a watery thing like this. Maybe even throw in some of these holes in the wall as though someone might even live there. I want to put it on some water. So let's see. Do this on a new layer. Pedestrian pop. Okay. So if you're just tuning in, what you might notice here is that instead of having reference on the canvas, we're actually using our reference window today, which is pulling from the reference down below here in the sequence panel, which you're welcome to go and grab the link for up top here, and then paste it into add existing image in your reference window if you want to use that. Everyone's got access to our Blaze features for the next couple of hours, so they can test this feature out a little better. All right, so cool with this layer. I'm actually going to sketch now. Sketch a little bit. This has this kind of form from the top. It has this curve to it. There's definitely some setting I need to change here. This picks up too much while hovering. It has this bit of almost a C curve, not quite a full C, but a little curve there, and then comes down again. Yeah, that seems to be a repeating shape, or a repeating thing in the formation, and then goes down into a sharper angle. Another one that comes in here. Okay, so maybe I'll work with this, and then I'll still have a bit of foliage and stuff on top, and I'll put I'll blend it in with this sort of background where we have this sort of off in the distance. We've got some of these other rocks around in the foreground. So this, the reason I'm also trying this, and we've been doing a lot of these photo studies, trying to copy the reference. Very easily one can become too dependent on doing the reference as it is, exactly as it is. I'm definitely guilty of this. Not guilty it's a problem necessarily, but it can kind of be a bit of a hindrance. So you've got to start playing around, figuring out what makes those photos, how to break it down into those shapes, and then reapply it somewhere else, but then match it up with other things. And the cool thing with relying too much on the reference, Hadley, what I'm not so much relying on it, but trying to copy exactly what I'm seeing instead of using it just as a reference, as an inspiration for something else, breaking it apart and using it as something else. So I would spend too much time just trying to copy reference, which is definitely something you should do in the beginning, but you need to spend just as much time coming up with your own stuff, reapplying what you're learning. Otherwise, you have a similar kind of thing that happens with people who watch a lot of movies as inspiration. They end up spending more time just watching movies instead of actually doing anything with all that stuff they're putting into their brains, with all that content they're consuming. Okay, so I'm just sketching out some ideas here. Let's see, we've got this interesting little hole in the wall here. If, like me, you like watching Star Wars, got to draw some Star Wars stuff afterwards, after you watch a movie or something. Easier said than done. Rather just go watch another episode. I like this long format as well. That's what I'm going to go for here. Or dinosaurs. Okay, Hadley, you don't need to tell everyone that you're going to the bathroom. Paying that close attention to your movements. Okay, so I've got a bit of a sketch in. Let's see. Maybe even another platform where there'll be a few extra bushes. Okay. Enough of that, enough of that. So color-wise, what have we got here? Got some much richer blues in some examples. Put this on a separate layer. I'm going to rename this layer as sketch layer. Let's try to be somewhat organized for once with my layers. Who does that even? Organizing their layers? Oofish. Okay. Light background, not me. Yep, I think most of us are. Oh, that's the wrong layer. Most of us are pretty bad with that kind of thing. Yeah, I think overall Anya is a way more organized personality. There's sort of impression, I guess, but I haven't seen her workspace. Okay, so I'm just kind of looking around now, looking at what sort of colors I'm going to bring in. Let's find this. I like this really warm. Warm orange. I'm just going broadly for now. I should actually put this on a separate layer. Now that I've done that, I realize my blunders. Because there is, yeah, I find it helpful to just have background and everything else on separate layers. Background, midground, and foreground. Have these in separate layers, it makes life a little easier. So now we also have a bit of this light in here, which has to follow a bit of the direction, for one, of the rocks. And also think about the depth of it. Things that are a little closer are going to sit a little lower on the rock like this. slightly different around edges. And let's see, up top, I'm noticing there's like a bit more yellow, a bit more saturated about things. Lightens up a bit too. No, I don't like that. It's a bit too saturated. Okay. We've got a bit more of like a reddish color in there, a little bit darker, come down a bit. Just add a bit of variety. Things got much darker in the other one we looked at, one of the other images along the bottom here, close to the water, where it's always going to be getting the rise and fall of the tide. Maybe it leads to the rock being a little different in its coloration here, perhaps. Just going to set the sketch layer to multiply, just so it doesn't get lost. Yeah. So probably a bit darker here in front. Okay, let's define the background a little bit more. A lot of these, I'm noticing that towards the top, the sky is a little richer. So I'm going to lock my layer opacity over here, so I don't go outside of the area I've painted already. I'm also going to change my density and opacity settings. Make sure it responds to pressure. Oh, turn off the size to pressure, because otherwise it leads to weird lines. And here, to be a little lighter. As always, that's coffee. Digital Monday, if you are just tuning in, you're welcome to come along and join us. Just going to duplicate. So I'm going to have a look here. Okay, that one's busy. Just want to make some room here. Yeah, definitely. We have a little Pyros challenge going on in our Discord server at the moment, where the idea is to create a landscape using the lasso fill tool, or a good chunk of it anyway. So I'm just making some extra canvases available here. Change the admin settings so that people can do things here. Add layers, order layers, resize canvas. Drawing settings, paste. Cool, that should do the trick. So just in case anyone's looking for a free canvas to go and work on, I've added a few more to the sequence. You can go take one of those. So yeah, definitely this kind of thing, landscapes are, these sort of rock formations are great to use with the lasso fill, because you can get really nice hard edge shapes. Right here I'm going with a paintbrush. You're going to get sort of, a lot of the time you're going to get quite like rough, broken up edges. With a lasso fill, you're going to get really nice, sharp edges. It's a little easier to get, whereas you can still do this with a brush. You can use your lasso selection. You can just change your brush settings a bit so it's got a harder edge. it's all possible. Oh, why did that happen? Accidentally tapped on that. Let's hide those canvases in sequence. I want to get a bit more color into the water here. Oh. I mean, I probably should have gone with way more opaque strokes in general. Now, I want to get some of the shadow in as well. It's not just going to be the exact color. So let's see if I look here, what's going on over there. It's a bit mixed in with the blue. So I already have this set to have slightly lower density and opacity. I'm just going to add a bit of this in. So maybe even a little bit of this. Waiting for server response. That's not good. There we go. Yeah. Oh, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Although, okay, we're about half an hour in. Cool. Let's try. I want to have a bit of greenery up top, like we have in our reference over here. A bit of a desaturated green. Full opacity to start. Go a bit lighter than that. Get a bit of a mix in. And also wanted to have a bit of a little way in here somewhere, maybe along the corner here. This would probably be narrower. Yeah, I need to change the song before I lose my mind. Getting a bit repetitive. There we go. I'll drop my sketch layer opacity a bit more, so it distracts me a bit less. Get some shadow in. Oh. Rocks a bit of form. Zoom in. Let's have a little look. What else is going on in here? Zoom some rocks off to the side. Okay, I don't have a lot of room for that though. So I'm just trying to grab things from this reference now, from these different things that I've been looking at, seeing what I can work with, what I can incorporate in. I'll slowly build it up from there. No, what I did there, I don't like. It's not going to be consistent with the lighting. What is going on here? Yeah, we're jumping very far and going on with my colors here. How weird. Color picking and I'm getting the wrong color. Aha! The side of my hand is wreaking havoc on my tablet recently. Hey Manju over on YouTube, what's up? So I'm constantly making accidental taps of things. Despite the fact that I have gloves that are supposed to counter that. Some very annoying things about this feature. Definitely at the top of this rock as well. There's a lot darker here. It's got a bit more color to it. So this is definitely a bit of a new way for me to try and work. So also working on a small canvas and a small. So we got here. The horizon here is definitely a bit darker too. A sort of richness closer to this as well. feel like I need a different brush, perhaps, to work like. To neaten up these edges. So how are you guys doing over there? You kind of coming up with your own formations there, or are you going directly with the reference? What sort of challenge are you focusing on in the session today? Yeah, doing your own. Nice. This could probably be shadow, maybe. Often in this sort of environment, the shadows are going to be cooler. But I haven't quite figured out. Yep, that works, Hadley. I think it's great to do a study of all of them first. I think that's a great way to approach it. To kind of like understand what you're working with a bit better before you try and mash them all into one thing. Very good. So let's see, I'm gonna go, if the shadow is gonna be a bit cooler, we're gonna desaturate a bit, come down in value. So yeah, this is a little bit of a different approach to what I have been doing in some of the other studies where I've been encouraging you guys to do a set of very timed time sketches. I actually forgot that I wanted to do that in this one too, to a degree. Because I really like doing those time sketches, and it really gets me in the zone. Gets everything sort of locked in. Just playing around, adding some, I want to add in a few little extra shapes, a bit of shadow, give things a bit more depth. Interesting. Using as many brushes as you can. I would say don't try and use all the brushes in one thing. I would say it's better to spend a bit more time with one brush to better understand it. So maybe if you're doing, maybe one way to go where you can get a bit of both worlds is with each different study, only use one brush and see what happens when you start playing with the size, with the density, with the spacing, all those different settings that you have here on the right. So do you understand the brush shape and its behavior when you do this or that with it? And in a single artwork, in general, I would say maybe 3 different types of brushes at the most, and just play around with the different sizes and angles of them. It is a bit of a mistake I think that all of us make at some point. Try and use too many brushes to do too many things in a single artwork. That actually gets quite distracting. Because it's a change in texture. And that can change in texture can focus your eye. Like you've got a very smooth round brush, and next to it you have a textured brush, like overlapping each other. You start to focus on those bits where things change, where there's a contrast. So if there's too much of that, it actually can hurt your artwork, so to speak. Because you have this competition for attention. One brush to rule them all. Yeah. Yeah, competition on your eyes too. Okay, cool. Very good. I actually want to do this for our Discord. Just a little demonstration with the different brushes, making spheres with each of them, just to see the different kinds of looks you can get. Oh, cool. Yeah, use that lasso for. So did I do something on the wrong layer? What's going on? I just made my brush too small. I think that's what happened. Did I crank my stabilizer? That's what I did. That's why the brush is behaving strangely. Like I said, my hand tapping all the settings, changing them unintentionally. Yeah, there was no requirement to use the lasso fill here. Just an option, just an option. You know, and then from this, like, we've made up our own little thing here. You could eventually be like, well, it could be a castle on top. There could be a platform along the bottom here, like a jetty or something. You could really start to like just play and make stuff up. Now you're in that mode, but you started off somewhere basing things on reference. Okay, got rid of the line layer now just to see how things are looking. Cool. This rock could definitely do with more texture though. So I am going to take another brush. Perhaps one of the chalky ones. Yeah, something like this. It's maybe a little much. I'll put it on a separate layer so that I can actually control a little bit, sort of erase. Let's undo that. I first want to clip it to the layer below. The opacity a bit so it's lighter. Then merge it down on top of it. Brain feels burnt. It's difficult. Like trying to. You mean it's the? What are you finding challenging? Is it they're kind of trying to come up with something on your own instead of doing the photo? Is like landscape type of stuff in general? Doing the fine detail, yeah. This is where I'm also starting to feel a bit of nervousness. Wondering how the heck am I going to tackle it? From far away, it's looking good, but getting it to look realistic is hard. Yeah. Especially if you're making stuff up as you go along. And you're combining different types of formations that have different ways of working, different ways that they form and patterns that they make. Of course you can, Hadley, of course you can. Yeah, of course you don't have to stick to the reference that I bring in. You're welcome to use your own. Desaturate this a bit. It's very warm in here. Yeah, so what other things am I sort of seeing in here? One is, make it sort of darker. In this reference, there are these little bits here that, see if I can zoom in a bit more. These little things in the rocks, which are quite cool. So I want to get a bit of that. Brush a bit smaller, perhaps. Let's do it on this one. Not higher. Maybe even a bit darker than this. And the other thing that's here is that, oops, that makes a shadow. And then there's this other picture where this has a bit more shape to it than I'd originally drawn out, right? Where it's just like a sharp edge. So we can look at how to bring that out a bit more. Add that form in. And I do like what's going on here. Okay, that's as far as I can zoom right now. Where it sort of wraps down. Like there's this flat top. It's quite light. It's a bit more orange. Yeah. Now I'm starting to mess with my shape. That's fine. If you realize that, it actually would be cool if I added this thing to it. That's fine. You can always make changes along the way. It doesn't always have to. It's normal to paint over what you've been painting. Like maybe that hole doesn't work anymore, and I add this in. Shift this over to that here. How are you doing for time? Hey, we've only done 1 hour, so there's plenty more to do. Plenty more time to do as much as we like. I mean, yeah, at this point it really is just starting to add in the details for me. Yeah, I'm gonna have a little stretch. I'll be back in a moment. Get some water if you haven't been drinking any over the last hour. Take a moment to stretch, and I'll see you guys in a minute. If I can hide my camera and mic. Alrighty. Okay, I actually want to shift to do a little something else for a moment. We're talking about these shapes and silhouettes and things earlier. I just want to create a few rocks that follow a little bit of the same sort of patterning that's in here. So let's see, let's do a new layer, keep it all separate. One of the obvious shapes that was here was this kind of pyramidal shape. So like I did before, I'm actually just going to make a silhouette. Why? Yeah. Switch to my brush. Lock my layer opacity so I stay within that area. And so I'll just color pick from the image I've been working on. Oh my God, sorry. And let's see if we're going to have, let's say, our light coming from the right. I'm going to just desaturate a bit here as well. Okay, let's do another one. Let's just play with some shapes. Sketch it out, sketch it out. Oops. We did like a cool, it's a cube of sorts. Cubelets. Rocky TV. Yes, I can do the same thing here. I mean, obviously there's so many more shapes one can do. I'll use my lasso fold just to get the overall shape. Do the same here. Lock the layer opacity, switch to brush. And let's see. Which is better, grayscale or color? I wouldn't say one is better than the other, but I would say if you're learning in the beginning, it's better to just go with grayscale so that you can start to understand like light and dark. Because that's like the foundational element. You can build colors on top of that. Getting the light and darks right, that'll help with focusing your image, establishing a focal point, making things stand out where they should. And it's way more important to get that right than to get the colors right. That'll sort of come afterwards. Okay, so maybe I'll say actually grayscale is more important. It is better, but more important to understand as a beginner. Let's give a bit of variation here. just working with sort of flat colors first before I add in the light. Definitely a bit of a yellow in there too, towards the top. Ah! Be gone. Once I've got some flat colors in, let's get rid of my sketch lines. And then we can add in some shadow. And I'm going to follow the same direction that I had before. It's a bit smaller. Change the music while I'm at it. Now I sort of want to follow similar change as what when I'm changing values here, going into the shadows, so going into this, for example, as my shadow for this color, point it a little bit more red, desaturate it, and lower the value. So I'm going to try and do the similar sort of shift for the other colors. Press it there. Of course, some people might just create like a multiplier layer on top. But I'm painting all on one layer. So bring that in here too. Spending way too much time figure out. It's fine. It's fine. That's what the time is here for. Figuring out. What device are you using today, Andy? So I like these little exercises where you just draw some rocks, try and get the same style as some other rocks that you've looked at, just taking those patterns and applying them to different shapes. Do this for quite a while, actually. And this is just, these aren't even that interesting, really, these particular shapes. But once you start getting these out of the way, you can start coming up with way more interesting things. Yeah, sure, you don't have to go when you're done or anything, you can just chill. Just keep in mind that some people might be focused on the task and not really chatting much. Yeah, I picked up some cool secondhand tablets on Facebook Marketplace as well. The older Wacom tablets that started off the reviews on my YouTube channel were sort of secondhand finds there. They're great. They're great. Still great. Still got a bunch of them. If you're looking for a device that's got YouTube, one of the best options, I think, is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. It's, especially if as a beginner you don't want to spend a lot of money, or parents don't want to spend a lot of money. It's such a good value for money device, and it goes on special often. It's one of my favorites. I think getting a Chromebook, cool. Okay, well, that was a fun little breakaway. Let's see if I can add a bit more to main image. So you have the right layer selected, don't I? Let's do that. Other sort of breaks in shape do we have? Cheers, Hadley. Bye. So yeah, close-up certainly lacks a lot of detail. Cool, cheers. As always, classroom on Monday, Clubhouse on Wednesday, and every now and then during the week. We actually have a very exciting one. We got one of our new ambassadors having their first stream on Wednesday. No, wait, when is the 23rd? The 23rd is Friday. Well, my Friday anyway. It will probably be Thursday night for those of you in Europe. Vens, who is a Magma power user, he'll be hosting a stream, which I am sure is going to be awesome. Love his painting. You might have noticed it today as the latest artwork of the week. So yeah, you've seen his work, and so message there. Cool. Yeah, Vens is doing that live stream. So not to be missed, not to be missed. No, why is there no music? I think I'm actually going to stop here for today. Do have some other things to get onto. This definitely needs more detail. And I do want to take another crack at it, but I think what I'm going to do is approach this differently next time by doing a study of all of these, spend like a set time limit on each of these references, and then take another stab at the same sort of image, just applying the patterning of this to kind of this rock formation with a little bit of these in there, catching some of the leaves, and maybe come up with a better color scheme. But I'll be off to a better start if I just do some shorter studies of all of these in one go before trying to do a longer piece. So yeah, always good to just take a moment to reflect on what you've done with the time and how you could maybe do certain things better, which things were particularly challenging, and so you kind of know where to focus your energy going into your next studies. So thank you very much, everybody. This was good fun. Glad you could join me, and I will see hopefully some of you in the clubhouse on Wednesday. Theme to be determined. Always open to suggestions on our Discord server, so you can let us know if you have particular themes you'd like us to tackle. Drop a comment, and of course, share your studies with us as well. We have a dedicated channel for that called Classroom Moments. So yeah, if you do happen to spend a bit more time, you want to share what you did in the classroom, please do. Look forward to seeing it. Thanks, everybody. Chat soon.